The guests fell silent as William's hand struck across Eleanor's face. The sound echoed through the decorated hall like thunder. Everyone froze. The band stopped playing. Waiters stood still with trays in hand, and family members gasped. Eleanor touched her cheek, feeling the sting where her new husband had slapped her. Just moments before, they had been cutting their wedding cake together. She had playfully dabbed a tiny bit of icing on William's nose, a simple tradition she had seen at many weddings before. But William's face had turned dark immediately. "Don't embarrass me," he had said through clenched teeth. Then his hand had moved before he could stop himself. Now, as their guests watched in shock, Eleanor's brother stood up quickly, his chair falling backward. Her mother covered her mouth with her hands. Eleanor's best friend Mary stepped forward to help, but Eleanor raised her hand slightly. "Wait." She looked straight into William's eyes. What she saw there was complicated. Shame, anger, fear, and the shadow of his father. A man who had taught his son that strength meant control. But deeper still, Eleanor saw the gentle man she had fallen in love with, the one who had promised her he would never be like his dad. "I need some time alone," Eleanor said quietly. Her voice was soft, but everyone heard her in the silent room. She carefully lifted the edge of her white dress and walked slowly toward the doors at the back of the hall. William called after her. "Eleanor." "Not now," she replied, without turning back. Eleanor found her way to the small room where she had prepared for the wedding earlier that day. She locked the door, sat down on a small chair, and finally let her tears fall. Her mother knocked on the door, calling her name. Her sister tried too. But Eleanor needed this moment to herself, to think clearly. She thought about her father, who had shown her what real love looked like before he died when she was young. She thought about her job at the Women's Help Center, where she worked with people who had faced abuse. And she thought about William, his difficult childhood, his promise to be better than his father, and the therapy he had started when they got engaged. One mistake didn't erase all the good things, but one mistake could easily become many more. Eleanor had seen this pattern too many times in her work. For 20 minutes, Eleanor sat alone, thinking hard about what to do next. Outside the door, she could hear worried whispers. She knew everyone was waiting to see if she would walk out of the building and end the marriage on the same day it began. Eleanor looked at herself in the mirror. Her makeup was ruined from crying. The dress she had spent months choosing now felt heavy on her shoulders. The ring on her finger, a promise of forever, seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds. But Eleanor was not someone who made easy choices. She had always believed people could change if they truly wanted to. William had been trying so hard to be better than how he was raised. She wiped her tears away and fixed her makeup as best she could. Then she took a deep breath, unlocked the door, and stepped back into the hallway. Her mother rushed to her immediately. "Darling, we need to get you out of here. This is over." Eleanor hugged her mother gently. "I need to handle this my way." "But he hurt you," her mother whispered. "Yes," Eleanor said. "And now I need to decide what happens next." Walking back into the main hall, Eleanor saw that many guests were still there, talking in small groups. William sat alone at the head table, staring down at his hands. When he looked up and saw her, hope and fear crossed his face. Eleanor walked directly to him, pulled out a chair, and sat down right in front of him. Their knees almost touched. "Look at me," she said. When he raised his eyes, they were red from crying. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I'll never—" "Stop," Eleanor interrupted. "I don't want promises right now. I want the truth." She took a deep breath. "What happened today doesn't just disappear, but neither does everything we've built together. Neither does your work to break the cycle you grew up with." Eleanor reached for the microphone that had been used earlier for speeches. The room quickly became quiet as she stood. "Many of you saw something painful earlier," she began, her voice stronger than she felt, "and I know you're waiting to see what happens next." The end standing before their shocked wedding guests, Eleanor held the microphone firmly. Her white dress caught the light as she spoke with a steady voice that surprised even herself. "What you are about to witness is not me excusing what happened. Eleanor continued. And it's not me walking away from someone I believe can be better than his worst moment. William looked up at her, confusion and hope mixing on his tired face. My husband and I will not be going on our honeymoon next week, Eleanor announced. Instead, we will be starting couples therapy, and William will return to his personal counseling sessions. She turned to face William directly. The room was so quiet that everyone could hear the soft music still playing in the background. I choose to believe in the work you've done, and the work we will continue to do together, she told him. But, understand this clearly, this is your one chance. Not because I don't value myself, but because I do value growth and healing. She addressed the crowd again. Some of you won't understand this choice, that's okay, but I ask that you respect it. And if anyone here is quietly accepting behavior they shouldn't have to accept, please know that you always have choices. Help is always available. Eleanor's mother sat rigid in her chair, clearly unhappy. But Eleanor's grandmother, who had been married for 60 years, nodded slowly from her seat in the front row. Now, Eleanor said, her voice softening, let's try to enjoy what's left of this day. The reception continued, though many guests left early. Those who stayed were awkward at first, but slowly the celebration found a careful rhythm. Eleanor and William shared no more cake, and they danced their first dance with a careful space between them. The next morning, Eleanor woke up in their new apartment. She had decided to stay there rather than go to her mother's house. William had slept on the couch. They made coffee and sat at their small kitchen table. I meant what I said yesterday, Eleanor told him. This is your one chance. William nodded, his hands wrapped around his coffee mug. I don't deserve it. This isn't about what you deserve, Eleanor replied. It's about what I choose, and I'm choosing to believe you can be better. Later that day, William made calls to find a therapist they could see together. Eleanor called to cancel their honeymoon trip to the beach. Her co-workers at the Women's Center were surprised when she told them what happened and what she had decided. Are you sure this is what you want? Asked Jane, her boss at the center. No, Eleanor admitted. I'm not sure of anything right now, but I need to follow my own path. The first therapy session was hard. William struggled to explain what had happened. I saw my father, he finally said. When Eleanor put the cake on my face for a second, I wasn't me anymore. I was a boy watching my father rage at my mother for embarrassing him at a family dinner. The therapist, Dr. Bennett, nodded. Trauma responses can be triggered in unexpected ways. But understanding is only the first step. The work is learning new responses. Eleanor listened, her heart both heavy and hopeful. She knew this road would not be easy. In the weeks that followed, some friends stopped calling. Eleanor's brother refused to speak to William. Her mother sent articles about divorce lawyers, but slowly other support appeared. William's sister brought dinner one night. Eleanor's grandmother invited them for Sunday lunch. Dr. Bennett gave them tools to build a newer, stronger foundation. Each day was work. William attended his individual therapy twice weekly. He read books about breaking cycles of abuse. He started a journal. Eleanor went to her own counseling sessions, making sure her decision came from strength, not fear or weakness. There were hard nights when Eleanor would wake up and wonder if she had made a terrible mistake. There were moments when William's shame was so heavy he could barely look at her. But there were also small victories. The first time they disagreed without anyone walking away. The evening William recognized a trigger before it overtook him. The morning Eleanor felt the tight knot in her chest finally start to loosen. 3 months after their wedding, they sat in Dr. Bennett's office for their weekly session. I want you both to reflect on your progress, Dr. Bennett said. Where were you on your wedding day, and where are you now? William looked at Eleanor before answering. On our wedding day, I was a man still controlled by my past. Now I'm learning to own my actions without being defined by them. Eleanor nodded slowly. And I was someone who thought love meant saving people. Now I'm learning that real love means holding space for people to save themselves. As they left the office that day, William didn't try to hold Eleanor's hand as he once might have. Instead, he simply walked beside her, giving her the space to reach for him when she was ready. The end 6 months passed since the wedding day that had started with joy and turned to shock. Eleanor and William settled into a rhythm of work, therapy, and slowly rebuilding trust. The seasons changed from summer to autumn, then to winter, bringing holidays that tested their healing journey. William's mother invited them for Christmas dinner. It would be the first time Eleanor had seen her since the wedding. William was nervous as they drove to the small house where he had grown up. "She's trying," William said. "She left my father 2 months ago. She's in therapy too." Eleanor squeezed his hand. "That's brave of her." The dinner was quiet but pleasant. William's mother had made all his favorite foods. When she served dessert, her hands shook slightly as she put the cake on the table. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly, looking at Eleanor. "I'm sorry I didn't stop it when William was growing up. I'm sorry I didn't leave sooner." Eleanor felt tears in her eyes. "You're doing it now. That's what matters." Later that night, as they drove home through the snowy streets, William said, "I used to think being strong meant never saying sorry. Now I know it's the opposite." January brought their 6-month anniversary. They didn't celebrate with gifts or dinner out. Instead, they sat with Dr. Bennett in her warm office, marking the milestone with honesty. "William, how do you feel you've changed in these 6 months?" Dr. Bennett asked. William thought carefully before answering. "I feel things differently now. When I get angry, I notice it in my body first. My jaw gets tight, my hands make fists. That gives me time to step back before I react." Dr. Bennett nodded. "And Eleanor, how have you changed?" "I'm learning to trust my feelings," Eleanor replied. "Not just with William, but in all parts of my life. I speak up more at work. I tell my mother when she's overstepping. I'm finding my voice." That night at home, they cooked dinner together. As William chopped vegetables, Eleanor watched him. His movements were careful, his face relaxed. He looked up and caught her watching. "What?" he asked with a small smile. "I'm just noticing you," she said. In February, Eleanor's workplace held a fundraiser for the women's shelter. William asked if he could attend. Eleanor was surprised. "Are you sure? Some people there know our story." "That's why I want to go," William said. "I want to face it, not hide from it." The night of the fundraiser, William stood beside Eleanor as she spoke to the crowd about her work. After her speech, an older woman approached them. "I heard what happened at your wedding," the woman said quietly. "I stayed with my husband for 40 years, hoping he would change. He never did because he never really tried." She looked at William. "Keep doing the work, young man." Spring came, bringing new growth to match their own. Eleanor started a support group for partners of people in recovery from abusive backgrounds. William joined a men's group focused on breaking cycles of violence. One evening in April, they walked in the park, where they had first met 3 years earlier. The trees were covered in small green leaves and early flowers bloomed along the paths. "I have something to ask you," William said as they sat on a bench overlooking the pond. Eleanor felt her heart beat faster. "What is it?" "Would you want to renew our vows?" he asked. "Not right away. Maybe on our first anniversary. Something small just for us. A new beginning." Eleanor didn't answer immediately. She watched a family of ducks swim across the pond, the babies following their mother in a perfect line. "I think I would like that," she finally said. "But not as a way to erase what happened. As a way to honor how far we've come." William nodded. "That's exactly what I meant." As they walked home, Eleanor thought about the journey of the past 6 months. There had been many hard days, painful revelations, and difficult conversations. William had discovered anger he didn't know he carried. Eleanor had faced her own need to fix others rather than let them grow. But there had also been genuine change. William no longer left the room when emotions got intense. Eleanor no longer walked on eggshells, afraid to trigger him. They were learning, slowly but surely, to build something new. That night, for the first time since their wedding day, Eleanor didn't sleep in the spare bedroom. She climbed into bed beside William and turned off the light. "Thank you," William whispered in the darkness. "For what?" she asked. for giving us the chance to become better together than we ever could have been apart. Eleanor reached for his hand under the covers. Their fingers intertwined, a bridge between past and future, connecting two people who were choosing, day by day, to heal. The 10 months after their wedding day, Eleanor and William decided to have a small dinner party. It was the first time they had invited friends to their home since everything happened. Eleanor was nervous as she prepared the food. "Do you think this is a good idea?" she asked William as he set the table. "We can't hide forever," he replied. "Besides, these are our closest friends. They've stood by us." The guests arrived at 7, Eleanor's friend Mary and her husband Peter, William's work friend James, and his sister Alice. At first, conversation was careful and polite. Everyone seemed to be avoiding certain topics. But after dinner, as they sat in the living room with tea and cake, Alice spoke up. "I want to say something," she said. "I'm proud of both of you. When I saw what happened at your wedding, I thought it was over. But you've shown me what real commitment looks like." Mary nodded. "Eleanor, I questioned your choice at first. I was worried for you. But watching you both do this hard work has changed how I think about strength." William looked down at his hands. "Thank you. But I'm not looking for praise. What I did was wrong. The work I've done since then is what I should have been doing all along." Eleanor reached over and touched his arm. "Growth is always worthy of recognition." That night, after everyone had gone home, William and Eleanor cleaned up together. There was a new comfort between them. Not the blind trust of their early relationship, but something more solid. "Our anniversary is in 2 months, Eleanor said, as she washed a glass. "I've been thinking about it," William replied. "About the vow renewal we talked about." Eleanor looked at him. "What are you thinking?" "I think we should do it at the lake. Just us, a minister, and maybe our closest family. No big party, no pressure. Just a quiet new beginning." Eleanor smiled. "I'd like that." The next week, Dr. Bennett suggested they each make a list of what they had learned in the past 10 months. They sat in her office, sharing their thoughts. "I've learned that healing isn't a straight line," William said. "Some days I feel like I've made so much progress and then something triggers me and I have to use all my tools just to stay present." Eleanor nodded. "I've learned that supporting someone's growth doesn't mean taking responsibility for it. You have to do your own work, and I have to do mine." Dr. Bennett smiled. "Those are powerful lessons. Now, looking ahead to your anniversary, what do you hope for in your 2nd year of marriage?" William thought carefully before answering. "I hope to keep becoming a person worthy of Eleanor's trust. Not just by avoiding harm, but by being a true partner." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "I hope to fully believe in us again, not just in my head, but in my heart. I'm getting there, but I want to feel completely safe." As their anniversary drew closer, they made simple plans. Eleanor found a white summer dress, not a wedding gown, but something new and fresh. William asked the minister who had married them to meet them at the lake. Eleanor's grandmother helped plan a small lunch afterward at her house. Not everyone supported their decision. Eleanor's brother still hadn't forgiven William. Her mother was coming to the renewal but had made her concerns clear. "Are you absolutely sure?" she had asked Eleanor, repeatedly. "I'm sure that we're both becoming better people," Eleanor had answered. "The rest we take day by day."